One of the biggest questions that is being asked, is it even worth becoming a UX designer with AI on the rise? Now, a lot of people have also been sharing their perspectives, but I think a lot of these perspectives are flawed because they're quite conclusive. And what I mean by that is a lot of people who are sharing their thoughts on whether or not you should become a UX designer comes from a place as if they know what's going to happen. They're either saying that AI is going to replace UX designers entirely, or they're a little bit biased and they're going to say UX design is always going to be relevant. I think it's a little bit flawed because no one actually knows what's going to happen. And instead, I want to share with you my perspective and my mindset or mental model of how I'm thinking about this entire landscape. So as you can see on my screen over here, you can see I've put together a beautiful timeline, and you can see it starts in 1991 and it goes all the way into the future. There are a few logos of companies that you probably have heard of. There's a story behind these logos, and before I talk about my perspective on this entire landscape and whether or not UX design is even worth it right now, I want to share this story with you. So back in 1995, that was when eBay was launched or was founded. In 1998, that was when PayPal was founded. In 2005, YouTube was founded. And then in 2023, OpenAI really took the world by storm and made AI commercialized, and public for the mass scale. There is a bit of a story between these three companies, and I want to share that with you. 1995 was when eBay was founded. It's the marketplace where you can practically buy anything online. Then in 1998, PayPal was formed, and PayPal was actually the merging of two companies, X.com and Confetti. That was founded by Elon Musk and a few others. So they founded PayPal. And then in 2002, PayPal actually got acquired by eBay. So eBay bought PayPal, and they actually turned PayPal into their primary payment gateway. What happened when this acquisition happened was that the key founders and the employees became so well known for their successes and their achievements that today they are actually referred to as the PayPal Mafia. So if I go ahead and show you a website, someone has actually gone ahead and mapped out all the relationships between all the previous or former founders and key employees from PayPal. You can see everything from SpaceX, SolarCity, Zynga, Stripe, all these well-known companies, they are all somehow connected in some way from their time at PayPal. I want to show you YouTube. So if I click on YouTube, you can see that YouTube was founded by Chad Hurley, Jawed Karim, and Steve Chen, these three, and they were all from PayPal. So if I click onto Chad Hurley, you can see that Chad was also the former web designer at PayPal. You can see that Steve Chen was a former engineer at PayPal. And then you can see that Jawed Karim is also the former engineer at PayPal. And they came together after the acquisition of PayPal and they founded YouTube. So that's just one example from this cluster of people or data sets. So if I go ahead and just minimize that, take this off the screen, my key takeaway from you is that when you venture down a career, it's not that you become a web designer and that is it. It's not that you become a UX designer and it's full stop. You can see that from PayPal, we had three founders or three employees working together. They formed working relationships, and then they also built highly valuable skill sets in the tech world. So there could have been software engineering, could have been web design. It doesn't really matter. As long as you contributed to the technology that was going to define the future, those are highly valuable skill sets. So what happened? They came together, and after the acquisition of PayPal, they co-founded YouTube. And what happened after that? These three founders are now well off. They've gone and invested their generational wealth into other asset classes, such as other startups, equities, stocks, and I'm sure they've got real estate as well. I'm sure they've invested all their wealth into all these different asset classes. So even if OpenAI or AI as a whole replaces all our jobs into the future, these three founders are practically set because they've gone ahead very early on. They've established their skill sets, highly valuable skill sets. They've established their relationships. They've met like-minded people who are very skilled, very passionate, very ambitious. They've gone ahead, taken that success or that leverage, and they've gone together, started a new company. From that company that got acquired by Google, YouTube got acquired by Google, and now they've taken all that generational wealth, they've invested into all sorts of asset classes, which really doesn't even matter if AI takes over all the jobs. They're pretty much set for life. So the key takeaway, really summarized, is that they've gone ahead and established the relationships, and I want to keep honing in onto this because it's important. They built the relationships, they built the skill sets, defined themselves, and they used that success and those achievements to catapult them into new opportunities. How does that relate to UX design? Well, let's go ahead and bring that story, that analogy, to something a little bit more relatable. So I want to refer to my journey. Obviously, it's a fraction, a tiny little fraction of what they've been able to achieve in their lifetime or within their journey, but it does follow a very similar trajectory. So in around 2005, I think it was 2005 or 2004, that was when I spent a lot of time online, playing online games. And I've made many videos about this story. And in a future video, or in the next video, I will break down my story in a little bit more detail. But with that said, I spent a lot of time online, which meant that I was surrounded by the internet, all these opportunities, all these things I could learn about. And because I was gaming and I spent so much time online, I eventually learned how to code, I learned how to design, and I learned how to build my very first website for gaming. And then after that, I actually went ahead and learned how to make sales. I actually learned about affiliate marketing, and I was promoting products on websites that I built, and I started to make sales, and I started to make my very first dollar online. What I did was I then took those learnings, those highly valuable skills. And in 2011, I believe, or 2008, don't take my word for it, it was between these years, I haven't done the maths, but between these years, I landed my very first job at freelancer.com. So I wasn't actually a freelancer on the platform, I was actually part of that entire team, the in-house team building the platform for freelancers globally. So the reason why they hired me was because I had built skills on my own. I learned how to make sales online, I knew how to design websites, and I also knew how to code, purely based on what I had taught myself. So I have taken those highly valuable skills, landed a job, and that really set me up, because with the people that I was working with the people I met, the relationships I built, and the skill sets I had further refined, in 2014, around this time, I landed another job. And this job was when I was paid $120,000. And funny enough, the person that brought me into this role was actually the VP of product at this new company, but he was actually a friend of mine where I worked with at Freelancer. So you can see, it's the relationships that you build and the highly valuable skills that you build in your career that really open up the opportunities. So then in 2000 and I think 15, mid 15-ish, I believe, was when I decided to jump out to freelance. And that was when I started to jump out on my own, learn how to build my very own business for the first time. And within the first year, I made my first full-time hire. Now, the success of my freelance journey was because I had further refined, really built confidence in my skill sets. I was able to refine them at freelancer.com and at this second company that I worked at, which was High Pages. I also built a lot of relationships, met a lot of people within the industry. So when I came out to freelance, I had, once again, if you go back to the previous analogy, I had the relationships, I built those relationships. People knew about me and they knew about the work that I did. I had also highly valuable skill sets that people wanted. So it was easy for me to actually get a lot of work. And between 2015 to 2021, I was able to scale my freelance journey into an agency where I employed 10 people. We did around $6 million, and that is life-changing money. But all this was only possible because I actually got started and I was actually focused on building relationships, meeting like-minded people who were valuable in the industry, and I actually had skills that people wanted. So what am I doing in 2023? So I'm actually very lucky to be in a position where I've been able to take all these experiences, all this knowledge, and also all the money that I've made to start a new business now. And I've also started to invest into different asset classes. So I no longer really run an agency, but I do education. But a lot of the money that I've actually been generating, I've been putting it into different asset classes. So I've been investing into stocks, real estate. I've also been doing angel investings. I've actually invested into an AI company. And this is just my very first step in future-proofing myself by utilizing my skill sets, my knowledge, into using some of the capital that I've generated over the years and investing into these companies, because if AI does go ahead and replace everyone's job, my goal is to somewhat future-proof myself and at least have a piece of the pie of this whole AI revolution. So as you can see, in a very similar trajectory, obviously at a much smaller scale, but I'm still very happy with how everything has panned out. And I think I'm at a position where I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do nowadays, is that I learned how to build up my high valuable skills through exploration. I then landed a job and I was able to refine those skill sets and also meet like-minded people who are valuable in the industry. I continued to do that with a second company, building those relationships once again, really honing in onto those skill sets. And then between 2015 and 2023, I've been able to freelance, run an agency, generate a ton of money. But more importantly, it all was only possible because I had built those relationships and I have defined those skills. So when it goes down to another timeline, your journey, if you're thinking about jumping into UX design, is it worth it? And I think if you were asking the question, whether or not it's worth it, that's already the wrong question and the wrong perspective. It's not that learning how to design UI or learning how to wireframe or sitemap is your goal or objective. Your objective should be to really understand, if I become a UX designer, what opportunities does that open up for me? And if we believe that from 2023 onwards into the future, we believe AI is going to, worst case scenario, replace all our jobs. The way that you should be thinking about it is, what job or what opportunity should I focus on today to make sure that I reduce as much risk of failure into the future and also maximize my chances of success into the future. So if AI is going to, let's say, define the future, this is really a word of technology. So anyone, the way that I like to think about it is anyone that has been spending time in building relationships in the tech world, anyone that's been really focused on building skill sets, highly valuable skill sets in the tech world, by building these two things, you are going to maximize your chances of success into the future, because it's not that AI is going to suddenly eradicate your job. It's a progress, it's an evolution, it will happen over time. But you have to remember, from today onwards, if you become a UX designer, you start working on tech products, you start meeting people who build tech products, and you build those networks, you refine those skills, you realize maybe 1 or 2 years in, you find a passion in software engineering. You start developing capabilities of learning how to code. You start learning how to do a bit of marketing because you want to learn how to market products as well. And you start to learn all these skills and you open yourself up to all these different opportunities. And if the role of the UX designer becomes disrupted, you have a large network of people that are highly skilled, highly knowledgeable, well-connected that you can lean on. And you also have a broad set of skills that you can also tap into. So for me, I've never actually thought of myself as a UX designer. I've always tapped into all different skill sets and opportunities. I do marketing, I do design, I think about business, I start new businesses, I design UI, I do research, I think about strategy, I think about growing the company, I think about all different things. And I don't really funnel myself down just one specific title, but instead I've embraced the opportunity and the journey of becoming a UX designer. And I've opened myself up to all sorts of opportunities to make sure that I will always be future-proof, because I'm always trying new things. But the great thing about, for me, thinking about when I became a UX designer, is that it exposed me to all these new opportunities that has given me the unfair advantage to really seize and really position myself in a better position than anyone else. Because if you think about it, someone who has zero tech experience or zero tech exposure, if they were to try to transition into the tech world in 10 years' time, it's going to be so much more difficult than someone who's spent 10 years in doing UX design, building tech products, because you just truly understand what the entire journey looks like. You know what the process is like, and you know how technology has evolved over time. So in a nutshell, my key takeaway and my summary is that it's not that we need to predict whether or not AI is going to replace UX designers as a whole. It's not that we need to predict that UX design will always be around, even with AI. I think that's the wrong perspective to think through. I think the best way to think about it is, what can I do today to make sure that in the future, I am reducing the amount of risk of failure and maximizing the chances of success in 5, 10, 20 years' time? And fundamentally, if we believe that AI is going to be the future, then we need to get as close to that technology as possible today and as quickly as possible. So between now and then, when it does, worst case scenario, take over the entire world, replace all our jobs, we will have built all those skills we would have evolved with the technology, and we would also have established all the networks, connections, and relationships that will allow us to lean on into the future if anything happens. So hopefully you understand where my perspective is at. I don't think we need to be conclusive in our prediction because no one is actually going to know where this is going to head. But let me know in the comments below, is UX design worth it still? And what do you think is going to happen in the future? And what are you doing today to make sure that you are future-proofed? With that said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to gently smash that like button, subscribe for the diehard fans, and if you want to learn more, make sure to check out this video. All right.